one roof. Now, I'd like us to not just look at Zanzibar in terms of the beaches and the people and the vehicles and everything, but I'd like us to look at Zanzibar more in terms of the traditional makeup of the Zanzibari people. Zanzibar is a place where we have very, very close family ties. Actually, Zanzibar is 95% Muslim. Now, that says a lot about how people behave. The lines are very, very narrow. We do not have so much liberty. Certain things that seem to work very well in other parts of sub-Saharan Africa might not work as well in Zanzibar, including concepts that are as mundane as family planning. When you look at the Arabic culture or the Swahili culture or generally the Zanzibar culture, when you talk about family planning, you're actually moving into a very contentious area. Now, we conducted a study in the month of August of this year involving people from three key populations: the MSMs, the CSWs, and then we also had IDUs, the injecting drug users. And certain things emerged because the question we were asking them was, do you appreciate the whole concept of SRH? And if services are offered, what are some of the hurdles that you're having to deal with before you can access those services the way you should access them? As I mentioned earlier on, culture and religion is a very key thing. So it puts brakes to very many things. There are things that you can or you cannot do. We're talking about social norms. Secondly, if you look at the people of Zanzibar, they have a certain level of hospitality. There's a way they relate to people. Now, they don't use harsh language. When service providers use harsh language in the course of delivering services to them or responding to the inquiries, it turns them off literally. So there are people who won't seek services simply because they're scared of having to interact with providers who are using very harsh language. Then 3 and 4 are almost one and the same thing. You're talking about setting. Currently, the organizations that are already thinking in terms of a one-stop shop. But then you're having problems at 2 levels. The first one is where you're having waiting areas where everybody reports to. Now, the issue of age is a very serious thing in Zanzibar. Someone who's 70 years old would not like to sit in the same waiting area with someone who's 18 years old. There are real difficulties in that. And then secondly, which is still in relation to settings, is about the relative age of the service provider and the client. When the service provider is someone who's 21 years old, for example, a lady who's only 21 years old, but then the person who seeks service is a 56-year-old man, clearly we're having serious problems over there. Then number 5 is about the distance from where they reside to the service areas. Now, Zanzibar is a community that is not very much like most of the communities where you come from. So if you go to the rural areas, away from Stone Town, then you'll notice, for example, that you don't have a lot of services that are trickling down to the villages. So that alone, again, will prevent someone from seeking these particular services. And then the last one that I'd like to talk about is availability of supplies. I'll draw an example from family planning because that is the best understood aspect of SRH. Zanzibar is a place where it's not very easy for you to access certain supplies. The most common supply, of course, would be condoms. So even if there were people who wanted to use condoms for dual protection, they would not be able to access them with the kind of ease that they'll access them with in all other places. I think because I had only 5 minutes, let me stop at that.